Hi. Let's just start with a short intro. I'm basically from Belgium, French speaking, that's why I have a funny accent. Sorry. I live in Zurich though, so I speak a bit of German as well, which might not help with the accent. And I've been doing mostly PHP and a bit of JavaScript for, I guess, more than 10 years. It's getting hard to count exactly, but a long time. And then I've been working on Symfony 2, like on the framework itself. I was quite involved until the 2.0 release. Like when it got stable, I got a bit less interested. I mean, I still use it and fix bugs, but I don't spend so much time on it anymore. And I spend now most of my time on Composer, which does take a lot of time, surprisingly. And I have my own business where we do like Symfony application development and Composer work as well, apparently. I mean, it is stealing me a lot of business hours, which is a problem. But hopefully it's worth it. So I basically wanted to give a somewhat advanced talk, but I wasn't sure what to talk about because it's a bit difficult. I guess most of you have tried it by now. Like, yeah, good. I guess I scared the others away as well this morning, so that worked. And so, yeah, I don't want to go over the basics, but I don't exactly know what sort of advanced stuff to show, and I don't really want to discuss the internals because I guess that's not really interesting to most of you. So I got a few like specific use cases I want to demonstrate, just stuff you might not know that might interest you. Then a few tips and tricks, just really random things that popped in my head or that I see people asking for, and some troubleshooting, like, because as well we do get a lot of support requests for a lot of the same issues, so that's maybe a chance to get rid of a few support requests at once. And then I hopefully will have a lot of time at the end for questions. And I hope you do have questions. Otherwise this falls flat and I look like a mess. So please start thinking. Okay, so first thing, sorry, I've also been sick for 4 weeks, so it's not good. But using a fork, I think that's something that maybe you didn't have the problem yet, but I guess you will because, you know, everything has bugs and you do use a library, or even Symfony is full of bugs, right? It gets a lot of fixes, but that's how software is. And hopefully when you find a bug, you go and actually fix it and not just complain about it. It's always nice if we get fixes. But then you're in this state where you actually have a fix and it's in your vendor directory and you don't really know what to do with that because the other people in your team, they don't have your vendor directory. If they pull in the Symfony project, it's the original one. There's not the fix is not in there. And in some cases, it's actually like critical fixes that just blow up your entire application. So this is something we really need to be able to do. And it's fairly easy. Basically, you can define those repositories. So that's like, by default, you will have packages as the default repository. You don't have to define it, it's just built in. And so you can just add more on top of that. So this type of repository with VCS is essentially just supports any VCS system like SVN, Mercurial, and Git. And so you just put in the URL of your Git repo that has the fix in it. And it will just like find that there is a package inside called Symfony. And when you require the dev master version, it will just go and fetch your version. So that's assuming your patch is in the master branch, which it probably shouldn't, right? And so yeah, it's really like it's a stack of repositories. So if it finds the package in the first one, it will pick this one. So there's no problem about conflicting names. Especially you don't have to rename the package. Like you don't have to have foobar Symfony. If you do, you will have more problems actually. Now, the thing is, as I said, if it's not in the master branch, but if you have a feature branch, you would just require dev mypatch, and like mypatch would be the branch name, and the dev prefix just indicates it's not a tag, basically. Now, if you want to check, like a lot of people have problems of they don't know what the branch should be called in Composer, etc. You can use Composer show and then your package name, and that will just list you all the versions. And if you do it with -v, which is the short for -- verbose, you also get it will basically print the like detailed information about which branch it checked and why it got like selected as a package or not for each branch and each tag. So that, like, for example, if you make a typo in the JSON and you add a comma or something, the JSON is not valid anymore, so it will just ignore the branch or the tag. And you sit there and it tells you, okay, the version is not found, and you start freaking out. Just use show or even install or update with -- will show you this information, and it will say tag blah 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 ignored because of invalid JSON. So that's a pretty useful resource. Now the problem you might have if you do this is that you have a set of bundles or other libraries that require Symfony in version 2.1 something. And now you have a dev mypatch which is not 2.1. So what you can do is use aliasing. So you say, I want this version and make it look like it's 2.1.0. You can just use any version there, and basically it will masquerade it as 2.1 so that everything else is happy because the dependency matches, and you have your patch, so you're happy as well. Everyone's happy. Now another thing that will come up pretty quickly, I guess, is private repositories and like private packages, because you might have bundles you reuse in multiple applications, or just libraries that are internal to your company that you don't want to open source. That's perfectly fine. I'm not saying you should open source everything. Now, similarly, you can just do that in your Composer JSON, define all those repositories for those internal packages. And depending on the cases, it will try to just use your SSH key to get the information. And if you don't have that set up, it will just ask you for your GitHub login password. So, because obviously this is not public, it also doesn't exist. But yeah. Then you just require it as any normal package, right? It's really nothing special. And so far so good. I guess this is easy. You might have done it already. Now the good thing is we have satis that can make this situation a bit better, because like this is a problem if you have sorry. If you have the same the same packages in every project, it's just a pain. You have to redefine this stuff every time. If you have 20 of them, the JSON gets huge. It's just kind of bloated. So Satis allows you to move this somewhere else. So what you would do is you just take those repositories, move them to this Satis JSON, and that's your Satis configuration. Then to run it, you basically do a checkout of Satis. You can use the create project command that I guess everyone knows about because it's in the blog posts and stuff. So that will just install Satis and then install the vendors directly. And then you run Satis build, pass it directory, like some web accessible directory. And this usually you would do on some company server somewhere. So you just have a cron job that runs the build command. And so every few minutes or something, it will just scan your packages, update all the information, and dump a repository. Now what this allows you to do is instead of defining all of them, you just define one that is of type composer, and it has your URL of the internal company repository. So this way you just replace everything by one, it's always the same, it's getting already easier, and you can still access your private packages there, no problem. Now this is still kind of annoying because you have to add it to every project, so what you can do is basically add it at the system level. So that's, I guess, very little known feature because we don't really talk about it much. There's like 2 lines in the docs somewhere obscure. But there is a global system configuration that actually can override the default repositories. So I'm not 100% sure. I think like that it should work. It shouldn't delete packages. I think if you want to delete packages, you would have to explicitly delete it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure. But if suddenly all the packages are gone, it's probably why. No, so basically you just add that in, so you see there is the Unix path, it's just .composer/config.json in your home, and on Windows it's in the India standard application data folder. So it's fairly simple stuff. You can also have other things in there like the process timeout, like just all these options. You can just configure it there, and it just applies to everything unless overridden by the composer JSON of the project. So this can be useful. And so yeah, at that point we're back to our project that has nothing special, and you just require your private stuff, and it works. That's, I think, it's pretty cool at this point. And if you do have questions about the stuff I'm talking about at any time, just interrupt. Now, another thing you can do with Satis is proxying. So this is maybe not very useful yet because like the package data is still coming from GitHub. But at some point, soonish, we will change that and serve all the package data ourselves. And I guess when we do that, the good thing of proxying will be that you have all the files in your like local network or something. It should get much faster to install everything. So what this does is, so in this case you have to add the packages repository because it's not by default in Satis. So you just define that, and then you can require, and you should really require explicitly those you want, otherwise it's going to mirror everything. So what you do there is you say that like every package you require, then you give it a version constraint, and it will just apply the constraint, and those packages that match that will get mirrored. So if you just want like the version 2.1 mirrored, you can do that. If you want everything, just use the wildcard. So yeah, I mean, if you do that right now without the require, so you mirror everything, that gives you a local copy of packagist, which means if packagist is down, you can still work. Might be an incentive, but especially as I said, once we have the actual package data there, I think it's gonna get really nice. Maybe not so much for people in the UK, but like for some guys in South America or Asia that have very, very slow connections. Like I heard stories of people that take half a day to install a project. It's like, I mean, to install all their vendors because their link to GitHub is so slow that it just takes forever, and it's pretty awful. I mean, I would just sit there crying, I think, if I had to wait half a day for this stuff to happen. So, yeah, we're working on it. Renaming packages, that's something that if you have packages on packages, you may know that you can't rename them. You have to ask me or Niels to delete it, and then you can resubmit. The main reason we do it is that most people they rename stuff and they don't care about users, or they just don't realize that when they rename something or delete it, people relying on it, they're breaking their project. So, I mean, some people just don't realize that. I don't know why, but it seems fairly obvious, but apparently it isn't. So that's the reason we don't allow it. In theory, what you should do is use replace. So you change the name and you replace the old name. And that way, if someone requires old name, like in this case, it just replaces the same version, which is like more correct, but it might be a problem because the older versions will not be replaced. This might be complicated to explain, but just trust me. This might be better. So it basically just says that every version of new name replaces every version of old name. So if you require the old package with version 1, it will just pick the latest of the new package. So it's not very good, but at least that way it works for everyone that was using your package before with the old name, and they just get the new one and nothing breaks. So that's something you should do if you want to rename a package, ideally. But yeah, ideally you would think before you name your package and then you don't rename it. But I know it's sometimes difficult. Okay, that's going maybe a bit, it's gonna get maybe interesting to explain, but it's something that most people, I guess, won't need, but it might be good to know that it's possible. And it's something that right now the PHP CR project is using. So if you're familiar with this Symfony CMF project and all the Jackal PHP CR stuff, I think they're the only ones using this, but I'm not sure. Basically what this allows you to do is to provide multiple implementation of one interface and allow all the packages to really require that an implementation is present, but without specifying which exactly. Because all they need is that this interface is implemented by someone. So the way it works is you have the interface package that says it needs an implementation. Now this implementation is the virtual package. Like, it doesn't really exist, and nobody needs to make it exist. It doesn't matter. And all the implementers, they say they provide it. So you have someone requiring it, someone providing it, and it just matches that way. But none of the actual packages have the name implementation. And this allows for versioning as well, right? So you can ask for an implementation 1.0 in this case, and only those that provide the 1.0 will be a match. So you can start like versioning your interface. And then what you do in some library, like in this PHP CR case, I guess the Doctrine ODM would do that, I think. Would require the interface, which itself requires the implementation virtual package. And then the user of the library would then choose one of the implementation, in this case, this amazing implementation. And so that way you pick the one you want to use. Okay, that was it for the first part. Now for completely random things. Branch aliases, that's something I guess you have seen but maybe didn't realize it. Is the fact that Symfony, for example, is like you can have dev master or this, right now it's 2.2.x dev. So you have those two versions are one and the same. And this is done by just using this branch alias feature, which like the reason is simply that, for example, now that we have stable releases for the 2.1, if you want to work on the master, it's useful that you can say, I want, like if you just require 2.1 anything, you will get the latest stable tag. So you will get right now 2.1.1. But if you add this add dev, or if you have minimum stability dev, which is in, I guess, all your configs, because it's right now it's a bit the only way to work, but hopefully this will become better with time when everyone starts tagging their stuff a bit more frequently. So if you do add dev, in this case, it's gonna pick the 2.1.x dev, which is the latest state of the 2.1 branch. And so for 2.1 it's clear because the branch is called 2.1, so we know what it is. But when you have master, you actually we can't know if master is gonna become 2.2 like in this case, or if it will be 3.0 or something. So this just clarifies the situation and makes it explicit that master is some version. And so it allows everyone to work with the latest and shiniest of every branch, and it's risky, but it's also nice to get the latest features before the releases are there. Okay. So version ranges, I just wanted to highlight a few things that I see very commonly done wrong, because people are confused and then they complain. So in this case, the comma, I don't know if you know about the comma at all, but the comma in the version constraint is basically an and. So do you see what's wrong there? Yeah. Anyone wants to try? Sorry? Oh, no, that's, yeah, okay, that's a typo. this shouldn't be there, I'm sorry. I mess up as well. No, so, I mean, basically there you ask for a version that is 1.1 point anything and 1.2 point anything, which is kind of impossible. I mean, nothing is two versions at the same time. I mean, you could do it with provide, but it's like, doesn't make any sense. So what you should really do is define the range like that, saying that it should be bigger than 1.1, but smaller than 1.3, which gives you then the complete range. Another one without the typo this time. Yeah. Can anyone tell me what this is supposed to mean? Yeah, I think you did it too.
2.0 dev and higher.
There's no 2, so I don't know whether you can.
No? Try to exceed anything beyond.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, of course, it is readable to humans, I think, but it's just, if you try to logically map it, it means nothing, because it's like 1 point star is a range, right? It's everything from 1.0 to 1 point infinity. And bigger than a range is what exactly? Like it's the range or bigger, okay, but so I mean usually I think what people mean is just the range. Or maybe they mean bigger than 1.0. That's the problem. Like I can read it, but you don't exactly know what was the intent. So we don't parse it, and it blows up. So just pick your way, and yeah, you have to do one of them, but not combining the two. Okay, viewing installed packages. That's also something that can come in handy when you just wonder which version exactly do I have of this package A or B. You can just use composer show with dash dash installed. And similarly, you have dash dash platform, which shows you the installed packages like the PHP version and all your extensions, etc. With like that's basically what composer sees on your system. And this is what it sees as installed in the current project. So yeah, just nothing special, but it can be handy. Yeah, a few tricks with the update command. Again, the verbose flag is quite nice when you work with dev. Well, not really just with dev, but if you work with git clones of the dependencies and not those zip downloads. So if you install with dash dash prefer source, it will always do git clones. And then whenever you update, it shows you all the commits that just got pulled in between the version you had before and the version you have now. So that can be quite useful when you just follow the branches and just get the updates all the time, because you see exactly what was just added to your vendors, and yeah, it can be handy. So just in case you didn't know. Then yeah, another thing I see people asking for is that sometimes you change something in the composer JSON which doesn't really impact anything. It's like just changing the description or something like that. And then it starts complaining that the log file is out of sync every time you do install. And people want to fix this absolutely. So what you can do if you don't actually want to update anything is to just say composer update nothing, which is just a hack. Because basically what this says is do an update, but only update the package called nothing, which most likely doesn't exist. But it also means that you can only update some dependencies, right? In case you didn't know, if you just want to update Symfony but not the bundles, or just one bundle that got a bug fix, you can just say composer update and then the package names, one or more, and only those will get updated. So yeah, incidentally it led to this hack, but and then another thing you can do is use dry run to just check what's gonna happen if you're not really sure if you want to do an update or not. It can be useful just to see like what's the current state and what are the latest versions. Okay, this is something we added, I don't know, a few weeks back, I think. It's not on by default because it does slow down the generation of the autoloader quite a bit. I mean, depending on the project size, it can take like 30 seconds, so it's not nice to run it all the time, but for production, you really should do it. It's just calling this dump autoload with the optimize flag. So if you don't put optimize, it just redumps the autoloader, it doesn't do much. But if you do pass optimize, it's gonna scan all your vendors and build a giant class map. So that's like a huge array that has all the class names and the path. So instead of having to scan the file system for namespace prefixes when it's autoloading, it just goes in the array and it knows, okay, it's there. So this makes the autoloading really way, way, way faster. Like it's, I think, 90 times faster or something on my benchmarks. But it just makes autoloading kind of transparent instead of it being a big hit on performances. I mean, I did some attempts with the XDebug profiler, just so that on a kind of hello world with Symfony, the autoloader sometimes took up to 30% of the request time, which is, of course, in that case, it's just framework overhead, like there's no application code, but still, it's 30% out of some milliseconds. You know, just do this when in your deploy script, just add this and done. It doesn't cost you anything.
Does it use a lot more memory?
That's like, it's the only problem, I guess, is that, yeah, there is this big array that's loaded, but honestly, like
Not noticeable.
it's not massive amount of memory. No. It's just, I mean, the worst case you're gonna have what, an array with 2,000 entries or something. That, I mean, even if it's 1 meg of memory, I don't care, honestly. Like, if it makes it run faster, memory is quite cheap, so I would say it's fine, but just look at it. If it's too much for you, then I guess don't do it. If you have more CPU cycles than RAM, sure.
Is it possible to put that file where you store this array into APC or some kind of other?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, it's dumped on the file system, so then it's just required by the autoloader. So when you include this vendor autoload, basically it just does require of that file. So if you have APC enabled, APC is going to cache the bytecode of that file, so loading the array in memory will be really fast. But it doesn't really cache the array itself in the, like, it doesn't do an APC store or anything, but I don't think that would help much. I'm not sure. You can try if you want. Like, if you see it, if it makes it faster, just please send a patch, because really, like, what I really wanted to do with this is make a commodity out of autoloading and not having people care about, oh, where is my file, and it's just every package defines its own autoloading, and you just don't care about it, and that's it. And so now it's like commoditized and fast, which is good, because slow commodity is not so good. But yeah, that's, yes.
If it's a tricky question that will require a lot of time to respond, I'll approach you later on. Imagine a situation where, well, that's what at least I've done, might be completely wrong, just say it's wrong if it's wrong. To be able to get a little bit more flexibility around the dependencies, I've done something like having global dependencies that could be used around everything that is installed in the given system, but then allow the application itself to define its own dependencies, for example, different versions if needs to be. Simply because I don't want to have a lot of duplications around several applications being deployed to the same machine, basically.
Yeah.
The problem that I've encountered was that obviously because I need to load both of the autoloaders from the global vendors and then the applications, I'm getting like syntax errors when you try to load the same autoloader and things like this. Is there any way around that, or am I doing it wrong?
Right now, there's no way around it, but there is. Yeah, I mean, there might be even dirtier hacks. There is always a way, right? But it's just, there's no supported way. But, okay.
Okay, cool, cheers.
But just to, like, a proper way is coming, which is the a link command, basically, that if you use npm, you might know that. It's basically, it just creates a symlink of, it would install the dependencies in the global directory and then symlink it in your project.
Okay.
So then you would have it local to the project, but with only one code base on the machine.
Okay.
So that's the idea. It's coming.
Then it's coming. Okay,
But
cool.
yeah,
Cheers. Thanks for that.
in the meantime, dirty hacks will be provided. Right. Another thing for regarding deployments, there are all those scripts that run in the default Symfony config, like post install or post update. You have those, cache clear and assets install, etc. In some cases, I think it's a bit problematic because they run by default with the dev environment and stuff like that. It's just not very convenient. So there is a way to just disable them. You just install with --no script. They won't run at all, and then you run manually what you actually want to run. So this might be good. Again, it's painful to do if you do it by hand, but for production, like for deployment scripts, which you really should do like with the script and not, by hand, then just adding a few lines once is okay, and it gives you full control. So I think it might be worth it. Okay, finally troubleshooting. that's only if you have a package on Packagist and it stops auto-updating. Like you don't get new versions or your tag doesn't appear, even if you click the force update button. Just use the validate command. Like it's useful anyway for many other things, I guess, but especially in this case because typically it's just extra commas at the end and like stupid little mistakes like that. So validate will run a JSON lint and then a bunch of other validations on just the whole schema of the file. So it should give you hints if anything is wrong. Yeah, lately I guess last week was this week was pretty bad, right? With GitHub going up and down and then down again and whatever. Now, I mean, obviously, if GitHub is completely down, tough luck. That's like right now. It's down. Everything goes down, and that's it. But sometimes what happens is that GitHub is running fine, but just some of the zip downloads are getting corrupted for some reason. I don't know why. And it's basically the only thing that fixes it is emailing support a bunch of times until they do something. So in that case, if you can't install a zip and just repeatedly it fails, use preferred source because it will go and use git clones instead. So it's a bit slower, generally speaking, but it works. So that's a good way to fix it. And then, yeah, just it's the general to-do list of when something bad happens. I guess self-update, everyone knows about it. If you don't, you will get a reminder in the next maximum 30 days that your build is too old and you should run it. But like you should really do that on a regular basis, I think, because we fix bugs all the time, and having the last version is usually the best. And when something bad happens, a lot of people notice and bug me, so it gets fixed quite quickly in general. Then updating the dependencies with the verbose flag is always a good thing, because if you get an exception with the verbose flag, you actually get the stack trace. So when you go and report a bug, it's better if you have the stack trace and not just some obscure message that we don't know where it came from. And then, yeah, there is this, that's kind of the composer equivalent of clearing the cache in Symfony. Right? It's one of those things that I don't know why it always ends up like that, but when you have stuff on the file system, things go bad at some point. And so yeah, removing the entire vendor directory helps fix some problems. Like, obviously, ideally this should not be needed, so there is no official command to do it or anything, because it's just, it shouldn't be there. Like, it shouldn't be needed, but yeah, sometimes it is because we're still in alpha and we still have a bunch of bugs, so just try it. And if it still doesn't work, then report a bug, please, because yeah, we do need bug reports to fix them. So that's about it. If you want to read the rest of the documentation, because I think most of this stuff was more or less in the docs. If you want to read the rest, please go there. If you want to add what is missing, that would be nice as well. Like, if you want to help with the docs, it's just all on the Composer project. It's Markdown. It's very easy. Just send a pull request. Like, docs is, it doesn't require much knowledge. It's just if you know something that's not there, add it. Done. Everyone's happy. Especially, I guess we have a lot of native English speakers, so it's always a plus. And then, yeah, the rest is just the standard URLs and IRC channels, etc. So yeah, thank you. I hope this was remotely useful.